Good evening. Welcome to Expression in Painting with Paul Creamy. I brought back the painting from last month. Here's the photograph. And this is the painting. We worked on it on the show, and I worked on it at the studio. I don't think it's finished, but it's been so hot that I put it aside. I've been out taking photographs. I also brought a painting tonight that we did in the previous show. This little one underneath here. I did this about 2 or 3 shows back. And that's another one from this series. I'm going to do a whole bunch of these paintings of these still lifes. I'm fascinated by all of the structures of them and the feeling. I'm going to put these out of the way. So tonight, we're going to do another still life. I brought a photograph. I'll show it to you. I've been doing photographs of this still life in my studio, and I've probably shot maybe 300 or 400 pictures, and I'm starting to get some really nice results. I like this one. Colleen, the master person in charge of the station, she picked this particular photo. I had 3 books. My friend Dr. Jones picked one of the brushes. I'm going to do the brushes next show. So we got this all set up. I love this. It is a witch hazel antique bottle. I've had it for about 50 years, 40 years anyways, a hairdressing bottle. And it's amazing I still have it because of somebody not grabbing it, all the stuff that floats around the studio. So let me see if I can get a small brush and we'll get started. Oh, by the way, I want to thank Mr. Owens for leaving a remark at the station. It's great to hear from you people, and it's great that you have questions and you have remarks. We love that. That's part of this whole thing. And his remark was he wants to know the colors. Well, I set up a tray with the different colors, and sienna and orange and yellow and blue and some red, a little bit of black, gesso. So this is what I do. So I'm going to use the gesso, which is the chalky white, and I sketch it out a little. I don't usually do a lot of drawing when I do these things. I like to free paint, but I like to take a look at the subject, break it down. So we go like this. Here's the orange. This piece here. Piece behind it. And you really should look at the subject matter. I'm not going to get the perspective, the 2 columns, and the silver pot, bucket, whatever it was. So I don't put a lot of effort into the drawing. I just sort of figure out what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, and I go ahead and try it. Got these small bottles with the black caps. I really like the way they look. They're neat. This would be a great black and white picture. In fact, I'm going to shoot a whole bunch of them and make them all black and white. I belong to so many groups, 929 groups on Facebook. And one of the groups I belong to is a black and white. And I'm saying to myself all the time, I got to do something black and white. Got to do something black and white. Well, I always think of it after I see it posted. And see, drawing, don't put so much effort into drawing. It's something you just sketch. You just do a little tiny sketch. That's all you're going to do. And then block in the rest. So it's like a gray, the rest, the background. So we're going to do a gray in the background. I don't think I put on any black. I think I put on anything. Did I put the box away? Yeah, I did. I'll have to get it. It's so nice to be so close to everything. We have you guys. The camera people are so cool. Nothing's ever forgotten or buried or any of that stuff. See, this show is filmed live, and everything that I do is live. If I drop the brush, it's live. If I forget to put the black out, it's live. That's what I love about it. I watch these shows and I look at all of the things that happen and I sort of chuckle. Nothing's edited, nothing's changed. All right, so I need a dash of this. Make some gray. And it's got a nice quietness to it, the gray. So, I mean, this could almost be a black and white painting. And so how I mix gray is I took black and mixed it with the gesso, and I got this really nice gray. And so what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to do this painting in a black and white format, and then I'm going to put the color on. That's the way they teach you at the museum when you're a kid. And I was a kid when I went to the museum school. I was like 12 or 13 years old. I went on Saturday, and they kept asking me how old I was. And I kept saying, kind of like a wise guy, old enough. After I'd been there for about 4 or 5 years, the dean finally says, Mr. Paul Creamy, how old are you? I says, right now? Right now I'm 16. He says, you've been here 4 years? I says, well, nobody said I couldn't, so I never said I shouldn't. Yeah. But I was a determined little guy. Oh my God. My father got the biggest kick out of me. How many times did they ask you how old you are, Paul? I don't know, Dad. They ask me almost every other week. And what do you say? Old enough. But the thing is, I was 5'8", and I weighed about 122, 123 pounds as a little kid. So I looked a lot older than I was. So that kind of confused them a little, which was good. So we're blocking it in. We're not doing anything specific yet. We're just blocking it in. Although these columns, they have a nice color to them. It's sort of a sandy color. See if we can get that. Use a little of this off-white, bleach white. A little darker in the back here. I love to paint. It's been so hot this summer. That's why I've been doing so much photographing. I have probably done 1,000 photographs in the last couple of weeks. And then I've learned how to download them into the computer, and I've learned how to manipulate. It's like finally all of this dedication the last year and a half to the computer is starting to pay off. I can actually manipulate do stuff with the computer so that the photographs look incredibly beautiful. And my wife was riding by a street in Pembroke, Union Street in Pembroke, and she saw this garden. She called me up all excited and she says, Paul, you have to go down and check out this garden. It's incredible. Okay, so I did. I got in the car and I went and checked it out. It was magnificent. Took my breath away. What a gorgeous garden. So I went up and knocked on the door. Of course, it was the wrong door. Neighbors. Neighbor says, it's not my garden. It's the lady next door's. Okay. And I says, the lady's next door. She says, is there a truck in the driveway? And I said, no. And she said to me, well, that's the lady next door's garden, but she's the kind of a person that wouldn't mind you photographing her garden. Good. Off I went. I shot, I don't know, 78, 80 pictures with my little power shoot Canon camera, 14.7 megapixels. Loved it, like a little kid in a candy store. I was shooting all kinds of pictures. And a couple of days later, I went back. I'm putting a little blue tint in this front bottle. These are not finished colors. These are just so that you have some kind of determination about what these particular objects look like and have for a feeling. Besides, when you do a painting like this and you have a photograph, you're in charge. You don't have to copy the photograph. Everything you do, it's up to you. I'm using cobalt blue, Owen, or if you're out there somewhere in TV land, you can say, Paul said he's using cobalt blue with gesso to get this effect. Yeah, that front bottle, oh God, beautiful. It's really a candle holder, that particular object, if I remember right. Got this great orange. Let's do the orange. I'm using orange, Owen, straight up. And none of this is finished. This is just roughing it in kind of thing. And these oranges, right, Owen, they're dried oranges. They've been in my studio for like 10 or 12 years. Or Chinese believe that they bring luck or blessings or something. Funny thing, I started posting in Facebook in Korea. And I wound up in one day with about 200 Korean friends as people befriending me. Facebook and I have an issue. They keep shutting me off, blocking me from making friends. And a year and a couple of months, I have 4,000 friends. I don't make friends, friends make me. I just agree with them. In fact, they have blocked me for 30 days, 15 times. I'm in the 15th time right now. I don't care much for the people that run Facebook, to tell you the truth. And there's a lot of people who don't like Facebook at all. And I can see why. I forgot this bottle, so I'll have to put it in. I'm going to put it in. This bottle right here. So when you're painting, look. You see more by looking than actually doing. And don't listen to your mind. Your mind is always telling you, you don't know what the heck you're doing. It looks like crap. Get away from it. Get it up. Give it up. Don't listen to any of that stuff. That happens to every artist since the beginning of time. Your mind and the painting are separate. Keep it that way. just keep doing what you do. And do it with authority. This bottle has a little more personality. I'm going to give it a little more. So it has a little more. See, I touched it with the bleached white, and it gave it a little more look. See, I'm going to tell you what painting is. Painting is seeing. And painting is doing the things that you want to do the way you want to do it. So we got these 3 black tops. I'm using black, Owen. Straight black. Hope you're sitting there laughing, because I would be. This funny guy keeps talking about me like I'm his friend. Well, you are a friend if you make a comment, because that's a great thing. Because so many people want to say something and never do. I think that's all about life, too. There's so many people that want to paint that never do. You see, wanting something is one thing. Doing something is the better. Like they say at Nike, just do it. It's true. Just do it. Don't think about it. Don't fret about it. Just do it. I'm going to take a look. I'm going to walk back, take a look. I have my little reducing mirror in my cape. Oh yeah, this has got a long way to go. But you know something? Nothing's straight, nothing's even. I love it. Perfect. So let's straighten some things out. I have this lady in LA, she's in Long Beach, California. And she emails me constantly telling me which bottles or which thing is crooked, leaning to the left. I get a big kick out of her. I said, God, you're good, lady. So I went back and I changed all of the things she said. Straightened them out. She says, if you put a ruler in the middle or a T-square and you'll get everything straight. I'm not the ruler in the middle and the T-square kind of guy. No. I'm just happy to be painting. So I'm trying to give this column in the back here a little more feeling. That pot in the top. Using lighter gray, Owen. Good. Starting to take shape. So when you look at things, glass is a very easy thing to paint. It's transparent. So focus in on the highlights, and all of the other stuff will fall into place. And don't try to do too much. Take it a little bit at a time. going over this again. This time I put a little blue in it. It has sort of a chalky looking look, kind of a opaque white chalky look. Another thing, keep your brush as clean as possible. Keep washing it. Keep going over it and over it. It will make it so much brighter and cheerier to paint like that. The Russians, when they paint a painting, every stroke they wash the brush. It's a little much for me, but I understand it. So when you're doing something like this is all about repeat, repeat. You just keep going over it and over it until it's to the point where, if I had my blower right about now, I'd be blow drying this. I forgot it. I told you, this daughter of mine had me so, oh God, I don't want to go there. I had a little Caleb with me all day. He came to the studio figuring he's going to do some artwork, but he just came to the studio so he could sit on his computer and do Minecraft. Drove me nuts. Sitting over there with his earphones on and his little mic, yippity yippity yipping all this time he's there. Just sort of chuckled. I take him to a restaurant to eat. Oh my God. I don't know. That's an experience. Brought up in McDonald's and Burger King. You sit in a restaurant and you order food. You don't know what the hell to order. They don't have any of the crap that McDonald's has. Good food. See, I run into a little black there. Don't let it bother you. Just go over it. Dr. Jones has got the time cards and she's trying to reach over to the other people. It's funny. This is a lot skinnier, I think, this bottle. I have to take some of this back a little, so let's go back and take some of it back. Good. So all of these things, they look simple, and they are, but try painting them, you know? It's easy to sit in the audience and say, boy, he's making a mess of this. It's not as simple as it looks. I'm going to tell you, in all the years I've been doing painting, the ones that seem the simplest are the most difficult to do. They just want to drive you nuts. And another thing is, it's subconscious for me because I've been painting for so many years. But Owen and people like you, you're saying, what do you got to do? Well, the light's coming from this side. So I just put a lighter paint, orange, on this side. So that it gives you the feeling that the light is coming from this side of the canvas going over. So it's coming left to right, the way we read. And that's basically, and when you take a photograph, a third, and a third. This has got that perfect photographic setup. And so a painting should be somewhat like that. It should be set up in thirds. And so when Colleen picked this particular picture, you know, she sees in that layer and she understands it, even though she just picked it. I know she understands it. You know, she's a TV person and she has that kind of eye. these little, this one here is out front, so I'm going to make it real light. I'm using white Olsen, I mean Owen. And this one's in the back, and this one's in the back too. So we'll just make it a little darker. And we'll make this side a little darker. And make this whole thing darker. In the old days, I used to take tons and tons of photographs. And I have the great cameras. I have Minolta cameras with all these expensive lenses. But I went and bought this digital camera, and boy, I've fallen in love with it. Lately, it is unbelievable. 14.7 megapixels, and it takes a magnificent photo. There's some people out there saying that it's not the camera, it's the person shooting the pictures that takes. Yeah, well, the camera has a lot to do with it. This is how you paint this painting. You just keep on applying the paint. You keep saying to yourself, this is what I'm going to do, and I keep doing it. Keep looking at the particular photo and keep going after it. I just noticed this dark spot right in here. So I'm going to make this a little darker, even blacker. I mean, there's some people, I went to see Renoir in his old age. It was at Hingham show, and his son asked him a question, do you ever use black? And he says he doesn't even have black in the box, not on his palette. Now, I love black. I use it all the time. And there's a lot of artists that won't use black, and that's their choice. I use it. I've always used it. I'm a printmaker. Everything that printmakers do is black and white. By putting that black in, it pushed the orange further out. I got this gray spot right here too. So keep your eye focused on what you're doing. Keep looking. Use the photograph. See how the light plays. One of the things I loved about Matisse is he did all of this stuff, and then he'd take a black and he'd do a black line. And I'm starting to do that, and I used to do it in my other paintings. And I'm starting to do it again. And I'm doing it on these still lifes. And I take this black line and I just enforce the issue with, and you start to see it. And it gives it a little more dynamic. Top of these little caps should be a little lighter. Just looked at the photograph, so you just touch it. Tiny bit lighter. This column is really white, so we're going to go after it. Change it. I didn't realize it, but there's another bottle right here, but I'm not going to put it in. I just saw that sticking up. I've been focusing on the columns, and I didn't even see it. But it's there. But who cares? So I'm looking at highlights, and I'm saying to myself, this is what you got to do. And you go and do it. Time's flying when you're having fun. 30 minutes go by like that. This show goes by like that. So that's why I try to talk so much during the show. See, I can see the structure of this painting starting to take shape. And this should be a little lighter. So I can lighten some of this in the back. Right here, there's a line running right down to the cap. I mean, there's a lot more in this photograph than in this because of the size of the canvas. I picked a smaller canvas tonight because I didn't want to go crazy. I didn't know how hot it was going to be in here. It's fantastic. They have great air conditioning. But you can always adjust. I want to talk about PAC TV. They're always after the people in Pembroke that do the Pembroke shows. Don't give up. Stay with the Pembroke situation, and they're the best. Those people that do the shows for the Pembroke people, great. They're great people. I've been working with those people for 7 or 8 years. I think they're the best. The Ryersons and the Dr. Joneses and all of the people that are involved. It's a shame they had to get kicked out of that station. It wasn't. I still think it wasn't right. I think that people in the town had an issue and said that they didn't want to go with PAC TV, and yet the selectmen just did what they wanted, and it's not right. But we're located in a great situation now, and we can do the show, and it gets to Pembroke, hopefully, and they do a fabulous job. I'm just using white. But I'm not using the white. I'm using gesso. And gesso is the product that they put on the canvas to treat the canvas. The titanium white is a little brighter, and it makes the white pot jump out. The gesso's a little softer. Do something with that orange again. Don't forget, you're the artist, you're the painter. You're in charge. My grandson's after me to put some stuff in the Pembroke show. Usually I try not to do that, but he's been wanting me to do it, so I told him I would. Just make him happy, get him off my back. He says, I like to go down and look at your things, Papa. Okay. Take a look. Getting there. We're getting there. You know, you do this show, and it, like I said to you, I've said it before and I'll say it again. 90% of what I do for this show on TV in an hour is just a sketch. I really spend more time sitting in my rocking chair in my studio. If you ever came to my studio, oh. I've been posting it on Facebook. I photographed 3 or 4 different areas of it. And I post when I become friends with somebody, welcome to my studio. And I get great response. One of these days I'll do a photograph of the chair and I'll show it to you. And you'll crack up because it's a big old Mission oak rocking chair. They've had it for 40 years. A very good friend of mine got it for me in an auction. And it's a very renowned, famous chair. And every time I have an open house, somebody offers me money for it. And I say, what are you kidding? Never part with that chair. Like parting with your meditation. Like my wife threw out my little medication couch and my mother-in-law got all over her. What are you, crazy? That's what he uses for meditating. So it was all worn out. He's always laying on it. Oh, funny, yeah. After 48 years, you think you'd get used to somebody. I don't know. But I told little Caleb, I said, my wife went to California to see our new granddaughter, Micah. Mika? M-I-K-A, Mika. My daughter's wife is half Australian and half Japanese. And the little girl's going to speak Japanese. It's going to be so cool. I plan on going, but I don't know when. These brushes, I've used them for so many years. They start off as real brushes and then they wind with these little tiny strands. And I had a student and his daughter, and he saw the brushes, and he went out and bought a bunch of brushes and then cut them all down. I thought it was the funniest thing. He showed me, he says, "Hey, I made my brushes look just like yours." I said, "Yeah, well, mine got that way because I used them." He's kind of cheating by cutting them all up like that. I thought that was the funniest thing. God. But, you know, when you do stuff like this, and I've been doing it for a long, long time, I forget about what I'm doing half the time and what these people see. What I'm doing now is I'm going to put some of the detail in. So there's got all these lines, the lines at the top of the bottle, the cap had a line, there's a line there, and there's a bunch of lines here. And so when you start throwing in those things, subconsciously, I do everything subconsciously, anything. I'm a subconscious person. Everything you do, but I'm doing this for you people, so I got to tell you what I'm doing so that you understand. So I look and I see this line and I see this line and that line. So I start putting them in. And it starts to make the painting have a song. It starts to have its own feeling and its own, and that's what painting is all about. That's why I love it so much. And I tell people, you know, even if I go to my studio, in which I go to my studio 7 days a week, even if I don't paint, the act of being in the studio is the same as painting. Because you're present, and you got to be present. People say to me, "I just never get anything done. I want to do something, but I just never get anything done." Because you're not doing it. That's why. Do it. Stop talking about it. Go do it. Tiny little bit of some kind of a rust around the edge of the pot here, so I'm going to chop that in. I don't know if you'll see it. I see it. I'm going after some raw sienna. Try to make these lines look a little stronger. All of the shading and all of the build-up, that's the finished part of this particular work. You just keep sketching it. That's what this is. This is a sketch. It won't be finished for a while. There's a lot of work to be done on this. I always tell people when I do this show, 10% is done on the show, 90% is done in the studio. And the 90% that's done in the studio, I'd say 50 of it's in the rocking chair looking at it. I spent all this time looking at it, getting up, looking at it, getting up. There was a man named Maratti from Italy, and he did a series of still lifes similar to this, only better, a lot better. And got involved with some really big galleries in New York. And what they did was they stuck them in a package when they sold the big painting as a gift. And people sent them all back or rejected them or gave them away. Now, each and every one of those paintings today are worth $300,000-$400,000, if not more. They're absolutely magnificent, and he was one of the fathers of contemporary art. He was a printmaker also. And one of my friends, Professor Marco, is one of his students, and when I met him and he told me he was one of his students, I instantly thought, great. I instantly thought, wow, if you're a student of this man, you must be really good at what you do. And he is quite good at what he does. So we're starting to see it come to life a little bit. It's nowhere near as close as to the picture, but it has that similarity. It has that feeling. You know, just keep putting paint on the canvas. Keep going over and over and over those certain spots, like you want it to have that highlight right there. There's a story about Michelangelo, and every time I think of it, I crack up because he's left in charge by the master, the teacher. And the teacher says to him, make sure that no fly lands on the painting. And while the master's gone, Michelangelo paints a fly on the canvas. And the master comes back and sees the fly and smacks him. And one of the young men said, that's not a fly, he painted that. And the master goes over and kisses him. And I always got a kick out of that story. I said, that's what you call a great painter. When you can outsmart the teacher and get that kind of affection. Michelangelo started the Sistine Chapel when he was 80 years old. A lot of people don't know that. And when he was 87, he finished. And he says in his journal that he was still learning, 87 years old. So I'm just putting paint down here. I'm just dabbing away, trying to bring up certain spots on this. This is how you paint it. This is how you keep on going after it, going after it. You don't get discouraged. You take your time. You build it up. And eventually it's going to get there. So painting is not what you do on a canvas, it's what you see. By looking, by being being unwavering about your attitude towards it. Just keep on saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and eventually you'll get it. And I have been painting, now I'm 70 years old, and I started painting at 7. So 63 years I've been after this, and it's been after me. It's a two-way street. And I've been around some great painters. But I don't look at them. I learned that lesson at the museum school when I just started going there. I'd say, oh my God, I'll never do what this person does. And I went and talked to the dean, and the dean says, stop looking at everybody and focus on yourself. They're not going to do your work. You're going to have to do your own. It was great advice. I give you the same advice. When I do a demonstration or I teach, I said, don't try to do what I do. Just think about what you're doing and how you're doing it. Uh, I just changed this line right here. I just noticed that I was too far over. So you can always change it. You're in charge. If you see it, do it. If it needs to be done, don't be afraid to just do it. This is painting. This cape is shedding. I got to get rid of it. I think it's seen a better day. I see all of this stuff falling off. I think it's had a better day. Oh boy. I'm going to buy a new one. Talk about getting attached, you know. I probably had this smock or cape for 15 years. So I can see why it's coming apart. My friend Marie wanted to buy one for me. She says, I want to get one for Christmas. No, I'm not ready yet. I think it's going to leave me before this Christmas. You know, a few years back I said I wasn't going to do any more glass because it's so annoying. And here I am doing a whole series of them. And I said, what I thought, and I still do think, that the things that drive you crazy are the things you should do. You know, you should not step away from the things that make you nervous or the things that drive you crazy. I took my grandson to see that Z movie. He's terrified of zombies. Oh my God. So halfway through the movie, he says, I want to leave. Well, let's go see Despicable You 2. So we went in and we sat down and we started watching it. And he says, well, Papa, you can go watch that movie. So I went and watched the movie, and a few minutes later he came in. And he looked at me and he says, you know, I have to get over my fears of zombies. They're not real. They're make-believe characters. I kind of looked at him and said, boy, growing up right before my eyes. We all have challenges in our lives, and it's facing them and moving with them and not running away from them, and whatever they are. They're always going to be there. So you see how this works. You just keep dabbing away at until you get that spot where it gets to it, and it's, you say, oh my God, I think I'm finished. I used to have a friend, he'd come by and say, put that away, you're done. And he was so good. Oh, for years and years. God love him. May he rest in eternal peace. That's the hardest part of painting, is knowing when you're done. Almost done now. Let me put this down and I can sit and talk about this now. Because if I got 3 minutes, and 3 minutes is a long time. We took this particular picture. This is what it is. And sketched it out, and I sort of dabbed away at this. It's not complete. It's not like the photograph, but it'll be like the photograph the next time I bring it back. Because I'll get to the studio and I'll put it in the easel and I'll sit down and I'll look at it and I'll look at the picture, and then I'll start to go after this. And you know, I use another product with the paint sometimes. They're Caran d'Ache crayons. They're a water-based crayons. And I sometimes can do a lot more with a crayon than I can with the paints. And I know that one of my favorite artists, David Hockney, uses Caran d'Ache crayons. So that's where I got the idea. I saw somebody, and I started using them with my painting, and I love it. And I use them with the watercolors. So painting is, you're not refined to one particular level. You can do anything you want with a painting. You can keep it flat against the canvas, or you can put a ton of painting on the canvas. And I like every form of painting. I think that you should never settle for anything that you don't feel comfortable with. Keep doing it until you get it where you want it, and then walk away from it, and then go back and look at it again. So to me, there's nothing greater than seeing the finished product when it's complete, but the process is what counts when it comes to painting. And that's what this show is all about, teaching you how to see, teaching you that there's so much that you can learn, and there's so much you can do, but you have to do it. And that's what you should be doing. Go out, buy some paints, start painting objects you see in your house. God bless. Good night.